Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making an impact, empowering the good in our community and around the globe. Today, we're talking about overcoming procrastination and building high-performing entrepreneurs, authors, and career professionals who are prepared for life's unexpected curveballs with the founding partner and president of the What Now movement, Eric M. Twiggs. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me on your show. It's truly an honor.
Absolutely. Now, before we talk about your book and movement, give listeners an idea for your background and expertise.
So I'm your procrastination prevention partner. I'm the author of The Discipline of Now, and I'm the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And I help seven-figure entrepreneurs to ditch their excuses to beat procrastination so they can make more money, get more done, and feel more confident.
What was the path that led you there? It's such a unique mindset. And for so many people that deal with procrastination, I mean, everyone needs a anti-procrastination partner like yourself.
So the whole thing started for me in college. And I talk about this in the book. It was my senior year at Hampton University, and I'm having this conversation with my good friend Donnell. And I have to confess that he and I were a little different at the time. He was all about his purpose, and I was all about the party. And he would give me a hard time and say, "Man, Eric, you need to get it together and figure out what it is that you want to do." And I'm like, "Donnell, man, loosen up. We've got plenty of time for all that serious stuff. Are you coming to the frat party with me or not?" And then so several weeks go by, and he and I don't talk. But then I get a phone call from his mother informing me of the fact that he was killed in a car accident. Changed everything for me. Sent me a message that maybe I don't have the time that I think to do the things that I want to do. And that's really where it started. And so from that moment on, I've been focused on or thinking about overcoming procrastination, being as productive as possible, and making the most of my time.
Yeah, and I definitely think that when you have an impact like that in an event that really shapes the way that you think and shows the preciousness of life as well. Talk about the What Now movement and what that is.
So that's something we started recently. I'm the president and CEO of the What Now movement, and I have two business partners, Ted Fells and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. And we started noticing trends of people that we would talk to, right? And this was like in the midst of the pandemic. And they would say, "Oh man, I've got this idea for this venture, but I'm going to wait until things get back to normal." And we said, that's the last thing you need to do is wait. You need to ask yourself the question, what now? And that's really the genesis of the What Now movement. And so we've got a Facebook group with 1,700 plus people, and our mission is to inspire people to pivot when they face a challenge. And so to accomplish that, we have master classes, we do motivational videos, we have annual summits, all of this in an effort to inspire people to pivot.
You're an author of the book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. What inspired you to write this book? And then how is this book different from others out there on the topic of procrastination?
Well, it was inspired out of frustration because I was looking for some type of useful tool that I could put in people's hands. And I was looking at some of these other books, and it was a lot of the same information. It was a lot of, oh, you've got to be the early bird. You got to grind. You got to, don't check your email before noon. It's a lot of the same information, which doesn't really work for everybody. And you almost feel like a loser if you don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So I wanted to put something together that was useful. My book is 100 pages. It's not War and Peace. If you have a procrastination problem, you're probably not going to read a 500-page book to overcome it. You'll get around to it later. So,
Yeah.
so I wanted to have something useful in people's hands. And what makes my book different is I have a 5-step model that's called the Procrastination Prevention Pyramid. And it's based off of over 28,000 plus coaching sessions that I've done with entrepreneurs. That's really where I came up with the model. So that's the only procrastination book you'll find that has this model in it.
Why would you say people need to tackle their procrastination?
Because it's a silent killer and it's affecting you whether you know it or not. And a lot of times you get away with it, or you think you've gotten away with it, because sometimes there's not like an immediate consequence for putting something off. It's not like you're supposed to be working on your report and then the procrastination police come and bust in your door and arrest you for procrastinating. It's not like there's some type of an immediate consequence, but so you think you get away with it. Let's say you wait until the last minute to prepare a presentation. And then everybody's telling you, oh, great job, Eric. Wow, that was a great presentation. So you start telling yourself, I work better under pressure. But the challenge is that when you start earlier, your presentation will be even better. And so you get into this little trap. And it also can impact your reputation. We all know that person that they're always late. Like you would bet your house that this person is going to be late to the meeting, right? Because they're always coming in disorganized, disheveled. And when opportunities come around, that type of person is the last one that people think of. And so it impacts your reputation. There's a lot of costs to procrastinating that people don't realize.
So what are some of the simple steps that you tell the listeners and those that you coach that they can do today to begin combating procrastination?
Well, one of the most basic things you can do is just get in the habit of making appointments with yourself. So instead of saying, I'm going to write a blog post this week, and then you get around and you turn around, it's Friday at 5:00 and you haven't written anything. So instead of saying, I'm going to write a blog post this week, say, I'm going to write a blog post on Tuesday at 2:00 in my home office, right? So you can actually get out your Google Calendar and set that appointment for Tuesday at 2:00. And I would even notate that you do it in the office, because when you put the day, the time, and the place, when you include the place, the studies show that you're 40% more likely to follow through when you've got a daytime and a place. But making an appointment with yourself is a key step. And a lot of people who call themselves chronic procrastinators have told me that they don't procrastinate half as much because they're making these appointments. But the key is you have to treat the appointment like you're meeting with your best friend. Right. So let's say you're meeting, you tell your best friend, we're going to meet 2:00 at this restaurant. You wouldn't just not show up. That would be rude. So why do yourself the same way? You literally have to treat the appointment with yourself as if you were making an appointment with your best friend.
I love that, because I have experienced chronic procrastination multiple times. And I do find that when I put it on my calendar, time, date, and place, that, like you said, there's data that backs it. I am more likely to get that done and check that off the box and feel more accomplished, which then leads to better workflow in multiple days following, because I know that I'm checking things off my box. So I think that is a fantastic tip that a lot of us can implement right away and see change there. Talk about the 30-minute hour. There's sort of like a play on words when it comes to that title there. So talk about what that is, maybe some of your favorite guests that you've had on, and what people would learn by listening to it.
So the 30-minute hour, it's a personal development podcast for the 7-figure entrepreneur who's looking to level up and become unstoppable. And the whole point is you really need to be training your mindset just like you're training for a sport. It's got to be like a daily thing. It's got to be a regular thing. And we want to be a part of that. So if you're that entrepreneur, your mind, just one bad day where you go into a downward spiral can cost you a lot. So the key is just always having that mindset. So we have examples of people who are really just overcoming. And one of my favorite examples is there was someone who was paralyzed, and they were told he would never walk again. He was playing football in high school, and now he's walking, and he's an inspirational speaker, and just a lot of the mindset things that he mentioned during that episode that applies to focus. And you leave the episode thinking, man, if he could overcome that, I can overcome trying to hire my replacement. I can figure that out, if he could overcome that. So now definitely it's the 30-minute hour podcast. and you can Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those places you like to consume your content. That's where you'll find us.
What are some of the trends that you're seeing that they are struggling with, maybe with technology, building their business, expanding their business, that you say, here are some commonalities that I'm seeing in the marketplace, and maybe some actionable tips that you would say help propel them to the next level?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that I see is just people, especially because if you're scaling up to that volume, at some point you can just be like a one-man band and just kind of throw yourself at it. But as you start to scale up and scale up and scale up, is surrounding yourself with the right people. And where do you find them? I don't believe you find the right people. I believe you attract them. If you really have things going right in your business, do you have like your core values established? Do you have good leadership? So the challenge is, like, if you're trying to attract an A player to come work for you, maybe that's your COO, your second in command. It's hard to attract an A player if you're a B player. Like A players don't want to work for B players. Mm-hmm. So you have to constantly be leveling up your leadership so that you attract the type of person who's going to want to work for you. So I think that's the biggest challenge I'm seeing across the board is like a lot of times we think it's other things. We think it's the economy. We think it's the recession. But a lot of times, and I say this all the time to people, like, you don't have 10 or 11 problems. You really have one problem. You have a people problem. That's it. If you get the right people in place and we have the right systems and disciplines, that's going to make a huge difference.
You do have a blog post on your website that talks about the best remedy for procrastination, which includes making your goal public. And one thing that I thought was interesting is implementing a penalty system. Have your thoughts changed a little bit about implementing a penalty system, and or what sort of examples would you give for that? Because I think that's a very unique way of looking at procrastination, to maybe pay yourself if there's a penalty or whatnot. So talk a little bit about the remedies for procrastination in that blog post.
Yeah, I think the penalty system still works. That's why I'm such a fan. I talk about that in the blog post, of just making your goals public to people that are going to ask you about it. Like when I ran a marathon back in 2017, and prior to the marathon journey, I'd never run more than like 3 miles at a time. But I told certain people, because I knew they would be like, hey, Eric, how's your training going? Hey, Eric, I'm going to come to the marathon. That's great. Okay, I'm going to see you.
Yes, holding you accountable. And now you have to show up to the marathon because they're going to be.
I can't not show up when all these people are now saying they're going to watch me run it. So I'm just a big fan of, making your goals. Now, I do think you need to be discerning as far as who you tell. That's why I think there's power in like 20 groups and masterminds and those types of things. If you get people that are like-minded and you're telling them your goals, that can help. No, but I think the principles that are in the blog still apply.
I love the cohort aspect of having like-minded people in a mastermind group, Facebook group, in person, text chain, to really say, hold people accountable, make it public, and then have maybe some competition with that penalty of where your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. Tell people where they can get a copy of the book. And you also have a special offer for our followers. Talk about that.
You can pick up a copy of the book, ericmtwiggs.com. That's my website, TWIGGS. The book is in paperback. It's in audio, and it's in ebook format. As far as the special offer, I have a time management calculator or time tracking calculator, where you can actually, it's a little spreadsheet. You can put in like what you make, and then you can calculate down to the penny how much your time is really worth. And it's a game changer when you start to put dollars to it, and you see that, okay, my time is worth, $200 something an hour. And then it even tells you how much like each distraction is costing you. Like for somebody, it was like every time somebody said, hey, you got a minute? And it, took 15 minutes, it was like a $20 cost. So I told him, look, next time someone says, hey, you got a minute? You say, hey, you got $20? It really makes you think about that. But I'll send you. It's actually official. It's a time value calculator that I will send to you. You can email me Eric@EricMTwiggs and put in the note that you heard me on the podcast, and I will send that to you.
Time is precious, time is money, and to know that your time is valuable and to respect that for yourself and for others to respect that is huge. Eric, thank you so much for really helping executive leaders and entrepreneurs who have moved from feeling frustrated to finding fulfillment. Eric M. Twiggs, thank you so much for coming on the City Current Show.
Hey, thank you for having me.